Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Got a busy one again today. Hump Day on the Sports Blitz. Whether your president got elected or not, we're still here to talk sports on a Wednesday. We've got high school football previews as the playoffs are here. We're going to talk a little high school basketball as the season started as well. Plenty to talk about on the show today.
Live from the River Valley Leader Studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
RiverValleyLeader.com. Having a little trouble today with the servers, so we're here on Ustream. Thank you for those of you who made the effort to listen, watch today. Also, if you're watching this later on RiverValleyLeader.com, just completely disregard what I'm saying because we'll have this stream recorded and we will put this up as a live replay later on because, well, everything we say is just completely timeless.
It is.
It lasts forever. It stands on its own.
It is. Now, I don't know if that's true because we might make some predictions and come back and the teams we picked lose by 40. But, Mark, the show goes on, as they say. Some technical difficulties. What do you expect in the world of media? But we're still here.
It's just the way it is.
And we're going to deliver the hottest stories and give our opinions.
Absolutely. We've got high school football playoffs that we'll break down here in just a little bit. Several teams hosting, which is big news because you get to go support your local team, and that's something we always like to do toward the end of the season. Some teams looking to make a run deep in state playoffs. We got a little bit of basketball that started up this week. I've been very lucky this week to go get to watch a couple basketball games, high school games, throughout the area. I guess one was in Atkins and one was at Pottsville. So we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Also, what's it going to take for the Razorbacks to win on Saturday? It's going to be a tall task playing against South Carolina on their home field. I know their best players hurt, but Arkansas is going to be without some great players of their own, a couple NFL players. Chris Gregg not going to play. Niall Davis probably out for a little while longer. So Arkansas is going to need to come up with a game plan that they can win without some of their best players. What's it going to take for them to win? We'll tell you here in just a little bit, and also we'll talk about the Razorback basketball team, who is off to a pretty hot start. Granted, playing against lesser competition.
Yeah. I mean, it's about expectations. I mean, I don't think anybody's running down and putting Arkansas in the Final Four based on what they did in a couple of exhibition games, but it's good for the players to break a sweat, play against somebody other than themselves, play against offensive sets that are different. I mean, that's sort of the value of exhibition/scrimmage basketball is you go up against yourself every day. If you're a defense, you know the sets, you know what everybody does, and it just becomes a little repetitive and easy to guard. Now you see other people, they run different things. Maybe they take advantage of you, they'll beat you backdoor. Maybe they screened and got somebody open, and Mike Anderson can use this for a teaching opportunity. So, yes, it's a blowout, and people just kind of throw their hands at it, but there is a value in these preseason scrimmages, Mark, exhibition games, but Arkansas in their next game is for real, and we'll see what the Hogs look like.
Yeah, you'll find out in these exhibition games. You'll find out who you can count on. Right. When the lights come on, who's going to show up, and you'll find out who's going to be on Sports Center several times this year. It's going to be Michael Quall. He's going to be on Sports Center more than once. I can promise you that. And then you'll also find out who can step up when guys aren't playing well. And in this case, it's not because they're not playing well. It's because they're not playing at all. And that's B.J. Young, who's out for 2 games, violation of some unspecified team rule. Don't really want to speculate on what that was, but he's been out. We'll talk about the Razorback basketball team here in just a little bit. And finally, everybody take a deep breath. I know election night was last night, and a lot of people in the state especially are not real happy because their guy didn't get elected. But we've asked today the poll question, the Honda of Russellville poll question. Following this year's election, you guys can have some fun with this today. Who would you elect as your sports president? I thought it was just a fun question, a little funny. Anyone in sports who you think could rule over all sports. It could be a player, a coach, a figure in sports. And we've got guys that we want to bring you here in just a little bit that we think could be the president of sports.
Yeah, we do. We don't want to quite give that away. I did give you an answer. I'm just going to tell you for the record, I'm not sticking with that answer.
You're going to move.
That was a little tongue-in-cheek.
Okay.
There is somebody who he's kind of comes off as a little arrogant. People don't really like him. He's kind of comes off as a know-it-all, but I think the man knows what he's talking about. He's a sports analyst, and I'll leave it at that for now.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Oh.
I like it.
You probably do.
I like it. No, I think I know who you're talking about, and I like it. So you guys go to Facebook.com/SportsBlitz and let us know who your sports president would be. Go to Facebook.com/RVL News to stay up to date with the most accurate news and very, very up-to-the-minute news and sports information at rivervalleyleader.com. Let's start with the Rack Furniture Warehouse local sports segment. The Russellville Cyclones hosting Benton on Friday night in the first round of the 6A state playoffs. I say the first round because they're looking to go to the second round.
Yeah, Russellville takes on Benton. I've watched a little Benton tape, haven't had time. I've been busy lately, but it's a game Russellville should take care of business against. And, we're looking at this team. You're coming off tough losses. You lose your last two games by a combined score of 84-7.
Whew.
Certainly you are asking yourself questions. And I think that's what this Russellville Cyclone team has done. I believe at this juncture, Wednesday, going into one of the final preparation days, this will probably be the last padded day they'll have in practice. You're ready to put all that behind you, get ready for a Benton team, because if you can get by Benton, you'll take on a tough Pine Bluff team, and, of course, that'll take everything Russellville has.
Before we get to the Pottsville Apaches football team, need to make mention of the fact that I watched the junior high basketball team and the senior high basketball team the last couple nights. The junior high team won in a close one. Well, I say a close one. It ended up being a 20-plus point game over Hector in the Pope County tournament there in Atkins. Congratulations to a good friend of the show and he's helped co-host before, Garrett Hill, Coach Garrett Hill of the Pottsville Junior High Apaches. And then also the senior high team had a tough one in the first quarter. They were down, and then toward the end of the first half, they took over against Clinton and were able to run off and win that game by around the same margin, something like 20 points against Clinton last night. So congratulations to the Apaches basketball teams starting the seasons off right now. No, they're not. They don't have all their football guys in yet, and that's going to make a big difference. A couple of starters that aren't there for the Apaches, but hopefully the football team can keep it rolling long enough to, make a dent in the state tournament.
Yeah, and I think if you ask Garrett and a lot of these Pottsville coaches, if the football team keeps winning, they'll figure out how to make it work until those guys get back. But, this is something you typically see in high school basketball. And, one thing that I believe is unique about your team, the Clarksville Panthers, is they don't have any football contributors to that basketball team. I think that's, aside from their talent and athleticism, that also makes them great. But, you look at this Pottsville team, Mark, and we've said it over and over. Man, this team could have done some damage if Clarksville hadn't been in this league. They're now moved up to 5A. Pottsville had some young players that are now a year older, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do here in this 2012-2013 season. Yeah,
they're a fun team to watch, and watched them last night. They've got some guys who, the natural progression is that as you grow older in high school, you get a little more confidence about you, and they definitely shown that. Guys like Travis Cole, who last year he was one of those guys who'd catch it, and he would try to get rid of it as quickly as he could because he just didn't want it. It was a sophomore playing in the senior high. He just wasn't real confident, and now he's just letting it fly, and the kid can shoot. So I was very pleased with what I saw from the Apaches last night. The football team looks to get a win Friday night. They host Gravette. And the 4A playoff football bracket is tough.
Yeah.
Pottsville's in a pretty tough spot as far as this bracket goes because if they beat Gravette, then they travel to Prairie Grove, the 1 seed, and they play Prairie Grove on the road. If they win that game, then they get to take over the 1 seed. And I was wrong about this on Monday where I said that they would have to travel to Nashville because if they beat the 1 seed, they take over the 1 seed's home field advantage, and they would get to come home to Pottsville and take on probably Nashville. So they've got a tough row to hoe, but if they're able to get past Gravette on Friday night to take on Prairie Grove, they've obviously got to start with Gravette, though.
I know it sounds cliche. I know it sounds like coach speak, but it's got to be one game at a time. I mean, you've heard people say it's a one-game season. Literally it is because, Mark, we know if you don't take care of business in this first game, if you're Pottsville, the basketball players will be going over to basketball next week, and nobody wants that quite yet. So I think if you're Pottsville, you understand, you use your experience from last year, you understand it's a one-game season. Those big games that will come in the second and third round and beyond will be there, but you just have to make sure you take care of business Friday night. And that goes, of course, for all high school teams.
Definitely. The Dardanelle Sand Lizards, Garrett Hill's dad, I was talking to him last night at the game, and he refereed this Dardanelle-Mena game on Friday night, and he talked about how, obviously it was a 45-34 score. It was a high-scoring game, and he talked about how many penalties there were in the game. He said there were something like 20 penalties, and 16 of them were false starts or offsides. So Dardanelle, just something to keep an eye on. They've got to get that corrected as they're taking on Pocahontas. They're hosting.
Yeah, I don't like hearing that this time of year. I mean, we're not talking.
And obviously, not all these were on Dardanelle, but it's a sloppy game nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a sloppy game, and really, if you're either team, I know Mena's not a team we cover, but even if you're Dardanelle, I mean, this isn't the preseason jamboree or an early season non-conference game. At this juncture, the mental mistakes and those types of penalties, false starts and jumping off sides, those are mental mistakes. Those need to be cut out because you're in the playoffs now, and the last thing you need to do is hurt yourself. You're going to face a quality opponent lined up across from you. That's enough to try to derail you. You don't need to help them out. So hopefully Dardanelle can clean that up.
Yeah, that's something they're going to have to do to be able to win in their first round. And it's really cool that all these teams are getting to host. It's going to make for a long Friday night for me, but it's it is kind of cool that they're all getting to host. Morrilton, they were 49-12 winners over Clarksville Friday. They host Jacksonville. That's going to be a tough one for the Morrilton Devil Dogs, but they are a very good team, and they're looking to go deep in the 5A state playoffs.
Yeah, Morrilton, I believe they're a 2 seed. That is a tough draw to get Jacksonville. I haven't seen Jacksonville play, but I know over the years they've had some good teams here or there. But, Coach McNabb and that staff, they've done a good job. They got off to that tough start against Russellville, but ever since then they played pretty well. Obviously, Greenbrier, there's no shame in losing to them. They'll want to bounce back from that. But I look for Morrilton to do some damage in the 5A playoffs.
Lamar is hosting Hoxie. That one's going to be fun for the Warriors, getting to host a playoff game at home. That's going to be a reward for a good season to those fans who have stuck with the Warriors for a long time. The Atkins Red Devils are going to travel to Camden Harmony Grove. We talked about on Monday how tough a road that was going to be, especially with all the injuries and the adversity that Atkins has had to face so far this season. Glen Rose defeated Two Rivers on Friday night. Hector beat Johnson County Westside 28-22, earned a home playoff game against Dirks. So congratulations to the Wildcats. They've got a bunch of new faces in Hector as far as coaches go. I found this very interesting the other night when I was watching the Hector Junior High basketball team, that their junior high and high school basketball coach, same guy, his name's Cody Vaught. Their high school and I believe junior high girls basketball coach is a new girl. Her name's Jennifer Breedlove, and their high school principal is a man by the name of Jordan Price. All three of them Clarksville High School graduates taking over Hector. So we know that they're going to start winning championships pretty soon at Hector.
Well, football, I don't know. But, yeah, basketball.
These are basketball coaches.
Basketball, yeah, absolutely. But I want to go back to Lamar because, when you think of Coach of the Year and the criteria for Coach of the Year, usually what do? You hand it to the coach who's overachieved, who kind of achieved something you didn't expect them to achieve. And if I could hand out a Team of the Year, I would hand it to Lamar. Just when you look at expectations and then relative to how they finished and how they played, I really think it's already been a successful season for Lamar. Certainly we want them to advance in the 3A playoffs, but I just got to take the time to acknowledge Lamar and the good year that they've had.
Definitely. They've done a great job this season. We're very proud of the Warriors. I know a lot of those kids who are from that area go to our church, or they know they're friends of ours, so we are very appreciative of the access that they've given us. They send us all their scores and stats to rivervalleyleader.com. If you want to send us scores, stats, pictures, anything from your kid, grandkid, self, I don't know if we got any athletes watching. I figure we do, but you can send those to Mark at rivervalleyleader.com. We love to have your information and be able to pass that along to our millions and millions of listeners. So One other thing of note here, the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys lost 33-30 to East Central in football, but they've also had Monday Madness, is what they're calling it, that they had this Monday to introduce the basketball teams. It looked like a lot of fun, and we look forward, and I love basketball. Weldon does too. We look forward to watching the Wonder Boys and Golden Suns this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go see what the team looks like this year. I know last year, of course, they had success, and the Tech program has been rolling, but I want to see what they can do this year. Of course, they've got some guys returning. Last year wasn't a rebuilding year, but they had to introduce some new faces. But I think this Arkansas Tech basketball team will be successful once again in the GAC. Looking at this conference, you wonder, our team's going to catch up? Because we knew the Wonder Boys would have an advantage, as well as the Golden Suns in basketball. Will these other teams catch up? I think that's something to watch for in the GAC.
Yeah, and the men, I believe, were picked to win the GAC. I'm trying to make sure I'm right here. The men were picked to win the GAC, and the women were picked second, I believe. So the basketball seasons for the Golden Suns and Wonder Boys look to be pretty good. We look to enjoy another season of success here in Arkansas Tech. So we'll get you up to date on some more basketball information here in just a little bit as we talk Hogs. But we've got plenty left to talk about on the show today.
Hello, River Valley. This is Doug Duval with Arkansas's first Rack Furniture Warehouse, where we have the largest selection of recliners and mattresses in the state of Arkansas. Come visit us at 2609 East Parkway, the Rack Furniture Warehouse.
Set your sights on savings right now at Honda of Russellville. We're offering our best deals of the year on remaining 2012 Honda ATVs, plus special introductory offers on select new 2013 Honda ATVs, all with zero down and easy monthly payments with approved credit. Be sure to check out the all-new Honda Foreman 4x4, now stronger, smarter, and harder working. How about a side-by-side? Well, Honda's got you covered with the Big Red. Honda's Big Red offers a proven Honda engine, automotive-style Honda automatic transmission with no belts to slip or break. Come in for a test ride today at Arkansas's legendary Honda dealer, Honda of Russellville.
Hello, River Valley. This is Doug Duval again at Arkansas's first Rack Furniture Warehouse, where Leon and I are back in business. We have gallery selection at quality warehouse prices here at the Rack Furniture Warehouse, 2609 East Parkway, Russellville.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Sports Scene of Arkansas offers a wide variety of sporting goods and apparel to meet any athlete's needs. Coaches love the top-of-the-line equipment that gives their players an edge, and parents and fans can't get enough of the high-quality screen printing that allows them to sport their favorite team's logo on jerseys, bags, and hats. Your one-stop shop for embroidery, banners, and much, much more. Visit your local team sports specialists. Sports Scene at 316 West Main in Russellville.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Live from the River Valley Leader Studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
Welcome back to the River Valley Leader Studios, rivervalleyleader.com. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton in studio, and it's time for us to look at the Arkansas Razorbacks. It's Honda of Russellville Hog Talk, where we talk about all the things that are going on in Razorback sports. We'll break down some basketball here in a little bit, but Weldon football season's still going on. We've although it's been a little bit of a disappointment and a little bit maybe a understatement.
Yeah.
The Razorbacks do have a game this Saturday night against South Carolina. I say it's Saturday night. It's 11 o'clock against South Carolina. I've heard many times that the 11 o'clock kickoff favors the visitor. Arkansas is the visitor. Maybe one advantage. They probably need several.
Yeah, we need all the advantages we could get. I mean, let's just be honest. I think we said it on Monday. Arkansas opening up in this game as a 14-point underdog. And, all of a sudden that can get you to thinking a little bit. Certainly that's what a betting line is supposed to do, to get you to think, okay, Arkansas with 14 points, because, looking at South Carolina, this isn't an offense that just lights you up. I mean, if you're a somewhat of a competent defense, and Arkansas has struggled, but I would barely put them in the competent neighborhood, it gets you to think, can South Carolina score enough points to beat Arkansas by 14 if Arkansas doesn't turn the ball over, which is a question. And one thing that leads to turnovers, Mark, is interceptions, getting pressure on the quarterback, and that will be the real key in this game. We know about Jadeveon Clowney. South Carolina's got several hosses up front that can get after the quarterback. That's what Steve Spurrier did when he built this South Carolina team. He said, look, I'm in the SEC. It's not back in the day when I was at Florida. I got to build some defense. And to his credit, he has done that. They have a dominant defensive front. Put that against an Arkansas line that has struggled. And they even struggled some Saturday. Tyler Wilson took some shots. I don't know if you saw one of them. He threw a deep ball to Kobe Hamilton, and my goodness, he paid for it right in the chin. So that's, to me, Mark, we're going to talk about the keys. That is the main keys. We have got to protect Tyler Wilson, and the main guy who has to protect him is Paul Petrino, the offensive coordinator. Because you go back to the Monday night football game with the Philadelphia Eagles, we've seen what happens when you don't scheme as a coach to try to protect your quarterback when you have a line that struggles. I want to see what Paul Petrino does from a formation standpoint and a play standpoint to protect Tyler Wilson.
That's going to be, and I'll get to my keys here in just a moment, but there are a couple bits of news as far as the football team goes that we needed to pass along real quickly. Not only are Niall Davis and Chris Gregg out for this game, Terrell Williams suspended after a DWI arrest. The hits just keep on coming and not just for Tyler Wilson, for the whole team, because not only are people being injured, but they're also taking themselves off the field now, and it's just it's kind of a snowball effect so far. And Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong has gone wrong for the Razorbacks this year, and it's been tough. And to that effect, Dominique Alexander, a 3-star athlete from Tulsa, Booker T. Washington, has decommitted from his verbal commitment to come to Arkansas. He says with all the instability in the coaching that he doesn't really know what he wants to do. He's got an offer from Oklahoma, so there's a chance that they'll lose another 3-star athlete at a position at safety that Arkansas really, really needs there in the defensive backfield. So before I get to my different breakdowns, Weldon, we're in a tough spot right now. You need a really good coach. You need somebody who can bring some stability. Need stuff like this Terrell Williams DWI arrest to stop.
Yeah, Mark, and let's talk about where we've been and where we are, because you mentioned losing a recruit, and that hurts. But I have to give the staff credit in this regard. They've held this class together better than I thought. Their overall recruiting, I've been a little surprised. I thought it would all fall apart. They've done a relatively good job, all things considered. I mean, it's hard to go in somebody's living room, talk to somebody on the phone about, hey, this is my vision for you. You're a safety. We're going to come in. We're going to let you compete. If you don't get a starting job or a roster spot, we're going to redshirt you, and our plan is this, and that for you. It's hard to sell that as an assistant coach if you can't even promise a kid you're going to be there past this upcoming year. And I think all that considered, this staff has done a pretty good job, Mark. But you're right. It's going to take somebody to come in and really be that disciplinary hand, because we've seen under John L., not only off the field with Terrell Williams and things like that, but on the field. I mean, discipline is probably the main reason why Arkansas is in this position, as well as injuries and things like that. But it's just tough when you watch this Arkansas team. But I'll tell fans, hold strong. We got less than a month. I believe there's a chance Arkansas has a coach hired in about a month, maybe less. Remember, early December. We're here, November 7th? So we're getting there. Just hold tight.
Yeah, Jeff Long's timeline set a coach being in place by probably a month from now, roughly. So hopefully we're able to do that. What's the last game is on the 23rd? 23rd of November. So we've got just 2 more weeks of football, man, after this week. So that's crazy that things have gone so fast. With how bad things have been, it seems like it seems like it's needed to fly by. But my key is real quickly to the Hogs winning, and we'll talk more about this on Friday. We'll get score predictions and things like that. That's what we do on Prediction Friday. But a couple things that Weldon mentioned that I think have to happen for Arkansas to have a chance on Saturday. First, I don't know how you do this. It may take a tackle, a tight end, and then chip with a fullback and running back. Whatever you got to do, but you've got to neutralize Jadeveon Clowney. You can't let him beat you by himself. If the rest of the offensive line, which they're not very good, and I'll just go ahead and say it, if they can't protect Tyler Wilson from the other guys, that's another problem in and of itself. But you can't let their best player just run roughshod over your offensive line, your tight ends, your running backs. You've got to protect Tyler Wilson, whether that's running the ball well, obviously the different blocking schemes that they're going to have to take care of, passing the ball quickly, running the ball well with Dennis Johnson. They've got to make sure that Clowney's not in the backfield all day. I
agree with you. And you mentioned the running game. I think that's important too. And one thing about Jadeveon Clowney when he was a freshman, and it's typical of all freshmen where they were eager, excited to get upfield, rush the passer, and you could have success running draws underneath them or even just running right at them. When you're being ran at as a pass rusher, it kind of neutralizes you. It makes you kind of want to bog down, hold down the fort, and play the run. I have to give Clowney credit for this. I've seen teams try to employ that strategy of running at him and running underneath him. They've had success, but not near the success they've had in the past. But I think if Arkansas can show Jadeveon Clowney that he can't just pin his ears back, that we can run at him and we can run underneath him with draws, I think that'll be huge. And it just comes down to staying out of known passing situations as well. I mean, you can say this about any offense. I don't care if it's Peyton Manning, Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, anybody in college. When you're facing a dominant pass rush like the JPPs of the world in the NFL, you can't let them pin their ears back. And when you get in 3rd and 12 and anything 3rd and long, and they know they don't have to respect the running game, really makes it tough to block those guys.
I've really been impressed with what I've seen from Dennis Johnson over the last several weeks since he's become become the bell cow for the Razorbacks. He's become the offensive he's been the engine of the offense. Right. If he's running the ball well, opens up the passing game a little more. I expect that he's going to play well, but my second key is you've got to have great decisions from Tyler Wilson. I know this sounds like a Bobby Petrino type thing where you've got to have great decision-making. We've got to throw the ball to the receivers who are open. No, Tyler Wilson, I've seen it so much this year, and I was very disappointed from the beginning of the year to now to see some of the decisions that he's made where he'll throw it into traffic or he'll throw it up into double coverage and things like that, and he doesn't do it all the time.
Right.
But more often than I'd like to see him do it. He can't have any turnovers. He can't make stupid decisions like that, and I think the biggest thing, that he can do as far as making good decisions is to not take so many big hits. This guy's been on his back so often, and it's not his fault a lot of times. Sometimes it is because he holds on to the ball too long, but he's got to get the ball out. He's got to make good decisions very, very quickly in this game, but he cannot take so many hits.
Well, I think when you look at Tyler Wilson, just his overall struggles this year, it just goes back to accountability for me. I mean, Tyler Wilson has taken sort of ownership of the offense to a degree. Now, Paul Petrino calls the plays. He's still the offensive coordinator, but it seems to me that Tyler Wilson has taken ownership as far as even coaching up himself a little bit, making his own adjustments. And, that may sound like a good thing, but it's not always the case because Tyler Wilson, first of all, is a player. He's too close to the situation. He can't see all the adjustments he needs to make. So if he's responsible for governing himself and coaching himself, then who's to hold him accountable for mistakes? You mentioned Bobby Petrino, and we've seen Bobby Petrino get into his quarterbacks over the years. And yes, I've seen Paul get on Tyler some, but it just feels like Tyler Wilson is responsible for Tyler Wilson, and there's nobody to really hold him accountable. And that's not to say anything's wrong with Tyler. He's a bad player, but You need a coach who's going to hold you accountable, even if you're someone as intelligent and as good as Tyler Wilson.
And Weldon mentioned this earlier. Get off the field on third down. Defensive line's got to get pressure and tackle. So we'll break down a lot more on Friday as we look forward to the game on Saturday. We will try to give you as much to go on as possible. We'll give you an opportunity to go to facebook.com/sportsblitz and give us your predictions. You can start rolling those in right now if you'd like to, but we'll read them all off on Friday. Give us your score, your players to watch, MVP, whatever you want to do as far as predictions go. We'll look at those on Friday. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we've got a little bit of Arkansas Razorback basketball that we want to get to, as well as our NFL. Plenty of different topics that we need to hit before the show's over with. We've got to give you our power rankings that we've not done so far today. So we'll be back with those right after this.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
It doesn't matter what you're looking for, chances are Good Deal Charlie Discount Furniture has it. From living room, bedroom, and dining furniture to one-of-a-kind pieces, Good Deal Charlie has everything. The staff is pleasant and always friendly, so you'll feel no pressure to buy. With new and used furniture for your home or office, you can find everything you need at the best possible prices at 2209 East Main Street in Russellville. Good Deal Charlie.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Live from the River Valley Leader Studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz. It's mighty convenient that 33 minutes into the fastest hour in sports, we talk about the fastest 40 minutes in basketball.
That's right.
That's the Mike Anderson system and the Mike Anderson way for the Arkansas Razorbacks basketball program. 2-0 in exhibition games thus far. They've taken on Southwest Baptist, beat them 106-78, and then they took down Lemoyne-Owen on, I guess it was Monday night, 111-45. Just an absolute beatdown that the Razorbacks put on the Magicians of Lemoyne-Owen. You like that? That's kind of a nice little nickname there. A couple of different things that jumped out to me before we get to some more of these statistics, individual players. The Razorbacks out-rebounded Lemoyne-Owen. Now, you've got to understand Arkansas's got a size advantage in a big way in this game, and it won't be that way in SEC play or even in the non-conference when they get to play real teams. But they had a 62-28 rebound advantage, and they forced 30 turnovers in this game. If you could do anything resembling that throughout the season, Weldon, you're going to be in good shape.
Absolutely. I mean, in rebounding, Mark, you're certainly right. The margins are probably going to be a lot smaller. They will be a lot smaller. But I want to see if Arkansas, and I haven't had a chance to watch the game, but I want to see how Arkansas is rebounding. Are we just standing straight up, pulling the ball down because we're bigger, or are guys getting in position, putting their butt on somebody, and getting a rebound? Because, I mean, you've played ball. You know how it is. You don't have to be the tallest, biggest man in the gym to pull down boards. It's about technique and it's about desire. And if you have that, you can be a good rebounding team. And the people who have criticized Mike Anderson and his teams will always say, they don't rebound it well. If Arkansas can manage to have a relatively even rebounding margin, they don't have to be plus 15 like some other teams. But if they can be relatively even with their opponents, I think that's huge for us because we can't give up second chance opportunities because that slows the game down. It takes us out of our up-tempo pressing rhythm. Teams can grind on us more that try to slow it down if they get second chance opportunities. So I hope this Arkansas rebounding trend can continue.
When you win by 66 points, you're going to have several people who you can look at statistically and say, wow, they had a great game. Cody Clark, to me, player of the game, in my opinion. The guy had 15 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. You called him Baby LeBron. He had some LeBron numbers there in that game. Very, very impressed with what I've seen from Cody Clark. I've liked the dunk highlight dunks that Michael Qualls has thrown down as well. But you've got some newcomers in to mix in with the guys who are returning. And I think Mike Anderson likes the way this team looks. I think Arkansas is going to appreciate the way this team comes along. No, they're not going to be a national championship contender, but they're going to have a chance to compete with nearly everybody else in the SEC this year, and they're going to be fun to watch for the first time in a while.
I think so. I mean, I expect this Arkansas team to be tremendous at home. But the thing with Arkansas teams in the years past is what can we do on the road? Can we play? And that's when I look to the veterans. I like, the new guys. We've mentioned Cody Clark, which, he seems like a seasoned guy. Doesn't seem like a young guy. But you look at these young freshmen, Michael Qualls, people were leaning on. That's great. I'm looking at these vets. I'm looking at these guys like Mardrekus Wade and Ricky Scott, and, of course, Kai Madden and Hunter Mickelson, these guys, B.J. Young, in their second year. Because when you talk about winning on the road, that's when mental toughness and leadership comes into play, good decision-making. And if we're going to be a better road team, which is what we'll need to be to make the NCAA tournament, I'm looking at those guys, and I'm going to see how they play because that's going to determine if we're mentally tough enough to win in somebody else's building.
Yeah, that's going to be a big question. It'll come down. That will be one of the determining factors on how well this season actually looks. Let's look at some other people who are in double figures in this game. Michael Qualls had 15. Ja'Cory Williams also had 15. And 13 for D. Wagner. 11 points for Ricky Scott, 11 for Anthlon Bell, who I've been very impressed with.
Yeah, me too.
9 points for Hunter Mickelson, who also had 10 rebounds. And just an overall dominating performance against a team that you've got to dominate that way if you're the Razorbacks. So we'll get to a lot more breakdowns on the Razorback basketball season as it gets closer to actual game time. I know the Friday night, and we're talking about conference game time and some of the big games like the tournaments that they'll be playing in. They're taking on Sam Houston State Friday at 7 o'clock, and that game finally counts.
Yeah, Sam Houston State, they're a Southland Conference team, so it'll be a higher level of competition than what you've played in the exhibition games. Certainly Arkansas shouldn't be threatened, but this will be a chance for Mike Anderson to really get some good tape. You can look at the tape from these other 2 exhibition games. You can pick things apart, but I think against Sam Houston State, you're going to really be able to look at some things and say, hey, why are we doing this? Or, Hunter, why didn't you roll off that screen? Why didn't you read it? You should have popped, or you should have dove to the basket. BJ, slow down. Why are you making this decision and passing here and there? Sam Houston State's the kind of team that will draw some of those mistakes out of you. You'll still win comfortably, but it's a good tape for Mike Anderson to have.
It definitely is. We'll look at Sam Houston State a little bit more on Friday. And since I didn't tell Weldon about this beforehand, I'll just give you the heads up now. We'll give a prediction, season predictions. We'll look at a kind of a range of wins that you expect Arkansas to be in, and we'll look at the season as a whole as Prediction Friday. That's what we do. We give you our predictions on our Friday show. So we'll look at all that and much more on Friday. I look forward to talking some hog ball. It's good. It's just, to me, Weldon, it's just such a relief to be able to talk about the Hogs in basketball and not be like we're talking about the football team. And that's kind of been the way it's been the last several years.
Yeah, definitely. Going into the last couple of years, it was the exact opposite. This football team, we can go to national championship, basketball, whatever. Things have kind of flipped a little bit. Want to caution people, it hasn't flipped completely. Basketball team will have us scratching our heads sometimes. They've got some youth, but it is exciting. And not only with the Razorbacks, Mark, Friday, we can get into college basketball as a whole. Player of the year, you got good teams. Cody Zeller leading Indiana. What will the young Kentucky team look like? Who are some players under the radar that'll make a splash? So that'll be something we can get into on Friday as well.
Definitely. While we're still here in this third segment. We're going to run out of time before we get to everything we want to talk about today. But it's time to hit some wire headlines, just things coming across the news wire right now at this hour. Looks like legendary Texas coach Darrell Royal passed away. We're not big fans of Texas overall as a university, but do have the ultimate respect for Coach Royal and what he was able to accomplish there at the University of Texas. So our thoughts and prayers to his family. Also, looks like the Indianapolis Colts and some of their players are joining with Chuck Pagano in his fight against leukemia. They're showing their support by shaving their heads. It looks like Andrew Luck has been one of those guys to do that. It's a nice gesture from some of those guys.
Yeah, certainly it is. And certainly I want to extend my condolences to Coach Royal's family. You know, Texas, sure, we don't like him, but you can't deny the mark this man put on college football, 88 years old. Certainly our thoughts are with him. And then Chuck Pagano. We talked about how inspiring his speech was after that game. I mean, nobody thought the Colts would be in this position. I mean, they're 5-3. They're competing. Andrew Luck looks like a seasoned veteran. And Chuck Pagano, you know, he said, I know you touched on it, how he's going to dance at his daughter's weddings. He's going to be there when they hoist the Lombardi Trophy. He's got all these plans, basically saying he's not going anywhere due to leukemia. I thought that was special.
It was really cool.
I like how the team kind of shared with him, and there's some of those guys shaved their heads in support.
Yeah, it was really cool. All right, so you've got plenty of other wire-related things that we need to hit today.
Where do you want to? Where do you want to go? NFL? Where do you want to go, Mark?
Well, let's save the NFL for last because we got our power rankings at the end.
That's right. Well, let's look at college football. We just got finished talking about Arkansas and how this difficult season has wound down, and we're looking ahead to who's going to be the next head hog. And Pat Forty of Yahoo Sports, we know he does his 40-yard dash, and he'll write some good pieces. He basically alluded to the fact that Arkansas could be the best job available. Now, let's look at who may be open. Auburn looks to be open. Tennessee, we know for sure Kentucky will be open because they announced that Joker Phillips won't be returning. So, Mark, what do you think? Arkansas, could it be the best job available this offseason?
That's what Pat Forty's saying, and I would, obviously, we're biased.
Right.
We like Arkansas more than we like Tennessee and Auburn and all these other different places. It doesn't look like Mac Brown's going anywhere at Texas. So, it's easy for us to say, yeah, I think Arkansas is the best job. As you look at the situation, the fact that Arkansas is building a new football operations facility, they're doing very well with the upgrades in facilities. Arkansas does look pretty good. You've got a good athletic director who's got a lot of equity built up with the people of America based on what he did with Bobby Petrino. You've got some Arkansas fans who don't necessarily care for the athletic director, but you've definitely got a good little base there. It just depends on what you're looking for. If I'm a coach and I want to go into a mess and try to figure it out, even though is a good situation recruiting wise, you got a big recruiting base and things like that. Auburn looks pretty good to me if they come open. Tennessee looks pretty good to me. But if I want to go into the place where I'm most easily going to be successful early, I think Arkansas might be their best spot for a new coach.
Yeah, I think it's about asset management and what you look for, as you touched on, Mark, because let's look at what Arkansas is and what Arkansas is not. And Jeff Long, I heard him in an interview say this. Every university has their own unique set of challenges. I think if you're Arkansas, you've got tremendous resources, which of course leads to facilities. You've got great fan support. All of those things are assets. All of those things are attractive. Let's look at what you don't have at Arkansas. You don't have a great in-state talent base, and it's difficult to recruit elite players to compete with Alabama and LSU. So I think if you're an athletic director, you have to understand that. What type of coach can come in and build, teach, and develop? Because I think that's what wins at Arkansas. I don't think you can hire a CEO-type guy, a Jim Tressel. I'm not saying Jim Tressel's a candidate, but someone like that who's just CEO. Les Miles. I think Les Miles is a pretty good CEO as far as getting the program in place, getting the pipelines going, winning a lot of games. But I don't want Les Miles building my football program from the ground up. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think Arkansas needs a builder and a teacher to work with those great assets to be able to get those 3 stars to compete at an elite level.
So who would you, if you had to pick a favorite right now as somebody who, we've heard a lot of names. My gosh, we've heard a lot of names. If you had to pick, who would you say leads the pack right now?
I think right now who leads the pack is Charlie Strong. And I think people look at what he's done at Louisville, and I'll be the first to say I haven't been all that impressed with what Louisville's done this year. They haven't been dominant. They've won games. They're undefeated. I give them credit for that. But Charlie Strong, I think people like him because he can be a recruiter. He can be a program builder. He's going to get in there and get his hands dirty. I think people can respect that. Another name is Butch Jones. And I think what's funny about Butch Jones is the one reason I can't see him taking the Arkansas job is because clearly he's going to Notre Dame because he's followed Brian Kelly everywhere. Followed him to Central Michigan, followed him to Cincinnati. So, of course, he's got to follow
Where's Brian
him.
Kelly going?
Yeah, well, somewhere, NFL somewhere. He just has to follow Brian Kelly. That's his pattern. But I like Butch Jones. I don't know if he's an Arkansas guy. I don't know if he's ready for this job. But I think right now Charlie Strong is the leader. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some dark horse Big Ten candidates that I'm not too high on. I heard Brett Bielema was not in the mix, but I can see Jeff Long making a call like that. Yeah, I agree with you. So it's one of those things where we don't know. I don't know names exactly as far as who we're getting, but I do know what I want to see characteristically. And that's somebody who's a builder, who's a teacher, but who also has high expectations.
You know, Brad Caldwell came on and told us that he thinks Gus Malzahn would be the best choice for it. He's also brought us a couple other names throughout the coaching search. Yeah. The crazy people are saying that it's going to be Gus Malzahn, signed, sealed, delivered, it's done. That's probably not going to happen. Yeah. But, man, there are so many names. I've heard Gary Patterson from TCU that he's high on the Hogs and that there's a chance for him to be the next coach. Chris Peterson is a top nearly everybody's list as far as candidates that they would like to see take the job, but he's not going to do it either. Yeah. So we really, at this point, we're 3 or 4 weeks away from knowing anything, and right now we know nothing.
We know nothing. I mean, that's the thing. You and I, we're not coming on here claiming we know. I will be the first to tell you I don't have Jeff Long's number. I don't know anything. All I do, and I think you do the same thing, is we look at the situation and we look at who fits and we make an educated assessment. I'm not guaranteeing you anything who's going to be the job and who's not. Of course, the most interesting name recently has been Mike Gundy. You would think with all T. Boone Pickens' money, he's not leaving, but apparently there's some issues with the administration, and Mike Gundy's looking to get out. I would ask you, Mark, where would you put Gundy as far as your wish list?
I would definitely, if I could get Peterson and or Patterson, well, not and, if I could get Peterson if I could get both of them, offensive and defensive coordinators, we're good.
Yeah.
I would put them behind both of those two for sure.
Right.
Mike Gundy would go below John Gruden, in my opinion, and it's not because of what John Gruden's done in the college game. It's because he's John Gruden, and everybody knows him. People have a high opinion of him. He would get any quarterback he wanted. I can tell you that from his quarterback show. People love that show. Mike Gundy, he'd be a safe hire. I'd rather see him than one of these Jim Grobe-type hires that Arkansas was on pace to make last time. So I'd be very interested to see where Mike Gundy falls in line. The interesting thought was that he was on his way when to be working for Houston Nutt as an offensive coach of some sort before Les Miles gave him the job as offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So that's where the connection is, and that's where people are going with that. I don't know. I mean, Mike Gundy, the fact that he's just crept up in the last couple of weeks tells me that there has to be something to it. And, you know, we're listening. We don't have Jeff Long's phone number. I'm the same as well, and I don't have that phone number. But we do have friends who are in the know with people in the know. And, you know, it may be 10th-hand information that we're getting. So we're trying to sift through all this and give you – I mean, I could read you the text messages that I get on a daily basis from people who said, my source says this, and my source says – and I don't tell you all that because a lot of it I don't believe myself. So – we're trying to sift through it, sort through it, give you nuggets of truth when we can, and we'll have people on to give you what they think.
Yeah.
We're trying to do our best to not feed you a line of crap.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we could certainly hit this coaching search over and over. I know we've got a lot to talk about. I will wrap up what I have to say as far as this is concerned. Look at the whole coaching carousel. Look at the other college jobs that'll be open because that'll affect the Arkansas job. And actually look at some of the NFL jobs. I've been making a case. I think you could see nearly a third of the NFL turnover. Wouldn't surprise me if a couple of college coaches made the jump. I know for a fact that at least half the GMs in the NFL are just jaw-droppingly impressed with Chip Kelly. They love how he does business. So if he leaves, Oregon leaves, and you know how the carousel works.
Yeah, and there were people who were talking about Chip Kelly coming to Arkansas. So it's probably not going to happen. So, but nonetheless, we've got 3 or 4 weeks that we've got to talk about this yet to come. We'll definitely stay on top of it and give you all the information that we can get. You can go to facebook.com/sportsblitz. Sometimes we put information on there that we don't necessarily get to on the show. If we hear anything, we'll pass it along. We've got NFL power rankings and a little bit left to do on the show today. We're going to hit our long break real quickly. We'll be back right after this.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Sports Scene of Arkansas offers a wide variety of sporting goods and apparel to meet any athlete's needs. Coaches love the top-of-the-line equipment that gives their players an edge, and parents and fans can't get enough of the high-quality screen printing that allows them to sport their favorite team's logo on jerseys, bags, and hats. Your one-stop shop for embroidery, banners, and much, much more. Visit your local team sports specialists. Sports Scene at 316 West Main in Russellville.
AR Sports present the 2012 River Valley Football Magazine, featuring profiles of local high school football teams, as well as college football previews and player spotlights. Professional photography accompanies top-notch writing throughout to bring you the best locally focused publication in Arkansas. You'll enjoy special tributes to local legends Jerry Aiken and Don Sevier, as well as an exclusive interview with Razorback all-time great Clint Sterner in this year's magazine. Available at fine establishments throughout the River Valley. Pick up your copy of River Valley Football Magazine today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Live from the River Valley Leader Studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
All right, we got a little time to do a lot here. It's not Prediction Friday yet, but we're going to give you our power rankings as we normally do on Wednesday for the NFL. They change week to week, so we just need to let you know that this isn't necessarily who we think would win a game head-to-head against one another. This is just where teams are right now, how well they've been playing, how we reward them for what have you done for me lately. And that's what we're looking at here with our NFL power rankings. Let me grab my power rankings from last week. Should have had this out in the first place. Last week we had the New England Patriots at number 5, the New York Giants at number 4, San Francisco 49ers at 3, the Atlanta Falcons undefeated but number 2 in our power rankings, and the Houston Texans number 1. This week we've got a little bit of a shake-up to that, Weldon. We've gone a different direction. There are a couple teams that are in this power ranking this week that weren't in it at all last week.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you look at our power rankings, Mark. Number 5, the Denver Broncos. Number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. Number 3, the Chicago Bears. And yes, the still undefeated Atlanta Falcons at number 2 and the Houston Texans at number 1. And, Houston, they're solid right now. They play the Chicago Bears. It's going to be a great game. They're just playing all-around good football. Now let's look at the new teams that entered. The Denver Broncos, they just keep getting better to the point to where, to me, they belong in the top 5. New England, they dropped out because they didn't play. I'm sorry, New England, it happened. Now, there are some honorable mention teams as well. Packers, Steelers, Patriots, and Ravens. You could all make a case for them, too. The Chicago Bears, Mark, I'm with you. I don't know if I trust their offense long term, but right now, they just keep scoring points on defense, special teams. Cutler, Matt Forte, and company, Brandon Marshall, they're doing just enough. I think they go to number 3.
Yeah, I don't like the Bears. I really don't like the team. They beat my Cowboys down. They're doing it with a lot of defense, which I like their defense. I've got their defense on my fantasy football team, so I'm enjoying seeing them score touchdowns with their defense. I wonder how long they can keep doing that as far as literally putting points on the board with their defense every week. 2 times this week, the defense and special teams put points on the board. That's just incredible to me that they're able to do it at that pace. So I have to give them credit for it, and that's why they're in the top 5. I don't know that they can continue to do it. I do not trust Jay Cutler. He's one of those prove it to me.
Yeah, they won't continue to score like that. I think Kurt Warner the other day brought up a great point. What happens offensively when you take Brandon Marshall away? Then where does Jay Cutler go? Because when you get in the playoffs late in the year, teams zero in on you. They figure out what you're about. They take away your best option. Then where do the Chicago Bears go? That'll be the question for them in this offense.
We had the Broncos at number 5, obviously Peyton Manning. He's my MVP as far as just the things that he's done this year to bring those receivers who, my goodness, I don't think they're good at all. Eric Decker, he's proven to be a little better than I thought he was, but Peyton Manning takes people who are here and brings them here.
He does.
And it's incredible what he does. That's why he's he's my sports president. We asked the question today, the Honda of Russellville poll question. Following this year's election, who would you elect as sports president? Anyone in sports you could think of who could rule over sports. We asked you to have a little fun with us today. We're going to read those here in just a minute, but let's break down the rest of this power rankings real quickly. I just had to let you know that Peyton Manning was my guy. San Francisco, got them at 4. I would switch those 2 with Chicago just because I think San Francisco, Chicago, the defenses would kind of cancel each other out. San Francisco's offense is a little better. To me, though, it hasn't been proven, so I like the way we have it right now. Atlanta at number 2. That's purely because they beat my Cowboys and the Cowboys choked it away. So I'll leave them at 2. They'll rot
well, then
there.
Nobody would be in the power rankings.
They can rot there. Houston hasn't beaten Dallas, so I'll put them at I'll put them at number 1. Man, Houston, I've been very impressed with what I've seen, the balance that they've been able to.
Yeah, I love Houston. I mean, you mentioned the balance, the defense, everything is rock solid. I do want to address a team that I know people may give me some flack for, and that's the New York Giants. And New York Giants, I warned you last week after Eli Manning and that offense didn't show up when Dallas was coming back. I put you on notice. We have them down at 4th in the power rankings last week.
Yeah.
And then you let the Pittsburgh Steelers come into your house, manhandle you. Eli Manning, Hakeem Nicks, once again, you didn't get it done, and you're out of the power rankings. I warned you. I put you on notice, and I came through.
All right, we got to read these. We got to read this poll question answer real quickly. We had somebody voted for me. Thank you for electing me.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a friend of mine who said I'd elect Mark. Ryan Martin, good friend of mine who, if anybody was going to vote for me, I figured it'd be him. He was the best man at my wedding. He said Herm Edwards. He said, hello, we know why. He knows why all athletes play the game. They play to win the game. Robert Ash says he couldn't vote for me because I'd make Miami Heat champions forever and LeBron king of the sports world. You're dang right, Robert. And then Robert actually said Kirk Herbstreit. He said he thinks he's extremely smart and would do what's best for each sport. Landon Crouch says John Gruden. Everyone knows to be a good sports president, you have to have crazy hair. and Alan Lunningham said he's going to have to go with ESPN's answer and go with Peyton. ESPN's done this?
They did, really?
They stole this from us
I
immediately.
did not know that.
We came up with this morning on the fly.
Really?
And they went with Peyton Manning just like I did. You're welcome, ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, if Herm Edwards, if we're just going to put crazy people up there, give me Jim Moore. Give me Jim Moore all day long if we're putting crazy people. But, I told you kind of tongue-in-cheek, Mike Ditka, just because he's so respected. Everybody's like, Ditka, they respect him. But really, I'm going to have to go with the guy who kind of reminds me of myself. He's kind of a know-it-all. He thinks he's everything. He thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room. And that's college basketball analyst Jay Billis. Jay Billis, when you talk to him, when you ask him a question, he'll have you leaving like you're an idiot. You're like, man, that guy made me feel dumb. He's such a know-it-all, and he's so arrogant. I think Jay's intelligent. He's a lawyer. He knows how to practically approach things. He doesn't let emotions get involved. I would go with Jay Billis, sports president.
I thought you were actually going to go who did I think you were going to go with? I just lost my train of thought. I don't remember who I thought you were going to go with. It wasn't Jay Billis, though. No, I thought you were going to go with Steve Young. Because he's brilliant.
He is, too.
The guy's a genius, so I figured that would be who you would end up going with. Anyway, we had some fun with it today. If you want to continue to send us your president of sports, who would you pick? Go ahead and do that. Facebook.com/SportsBlitz. That's all the time we've got for today. We will be back in a big way on Friday. We're going to talk to Dedrick Lee, Clarksville basketball player. It's basketball season in Clarksville now. We're going to talk to him tomorrow. Hopefully, we're going to get him on camera. If not, we're going to have an audio interview with him at Clarksville High School tomorrow. We'll talk about his commitment to Oral Roberts, talk about playing with his brothers for the last year, maybe ever. We'll look at the recruitment of his younger brothers and plenty more. We hope to have you back on Friday. It's Prediction Friday. You can get involved with us more than any other show of the week on Friday. So get back with us at 11 o'clock on Friday. For Weldon, I'm Mark. So long, and we'll see you Friday.